Hello agents and rogues of the Division, and welcome to TheAdditionTV, where in today's video I will be discussing the different enemy archetypes you will encounter during the game's PvE aspect. Now, I feel I should mention before I begin that this video is not going to be about the game's lore or the different factions of enemies, such as the Last Man Battalion. Instead, it will be a video on what I have experienced during the beta or my speculations on the special abilities, skills and mechanics that classes of enemies will utilize during engagements in the full game. There are believed to be around 11 different enemy archetypes as defined by their abilities, and unfortunately I only had the opportunity to interact with a select few of these due to either bad luck or the possibility that some enemy archetypes were not present in the betas. So, here is some speculation on what to expect of these enemies, as well as some tips on how best to engage them when the full game releases. Firstly, the Rusher. These enemies, represented by a lightning bolt next to their health bar, will charge at you with melee weapons in an attempt to force you out from cover. If you allow them to engage you in close quarters combat, you will quickly find yourself in the open trying to escape them. So, it is important to try and defeat these enemies mid-charge when they are exposed and in open ground before they are able to engage you. Next is the Leader archetype, represented by a badge similar to that of a military corporal, or two arrows pointing upwards. Although I haven't had the pleasure of encountering these enemies personally, they are believed to be well equipped with above average weapons, health pools, and will most likely be armoured. It is likely that they will be the heads of assault groups, coordinating other enemies, and defeating this enemy early in an engagement may help to disorganize the enemy squad you are facing, making them easier to defeat. Next, there is the Assault archetype. These make up the majority of enemies you will face, have standard health and weapons made up of various firearms, and may or may not have armour. They will use a mixture of cover-based mechanics and can cause large amounts of damage when multiple enemies are engaged simultaneously. Now, a more interesting enemy, which some of you may have been lucky enough to encounter during the beta, is the Controller. These are enemies that have the ability to deploy an automated turret, just like the one agents can deploy when leveling up the tech skills. They are represented by a tool icon, like the head of a spanner, and the turret will also have an icon similar to that which an enemy or friendly player's turret will have, as seen on screen. Controllers are believed to be very aggressive and have mainly been seen using shotguns. One useful tip for combating a controller is to use an EMP grenade to temporarily disable the turret, removing it as a threat while engaging other enemies. Moving on to the Heavy Weapon Specialist. These enemies were frequently seen in the betas using heavy weapons such as machine guns, although it is unknown whether this will be the only heavy weapon they use during the full game, and they also deal large amounts of damage whilst attempting to suppress you behind cover with extended periods of fire, which can be very deadly if you are caught out. They can be most effectively fought whilst the weapon is not readied by attacking the reserve ammo pack, dealing large amounts of damage to the enemy. Now we come on to the Sniper. These marksmen utilize good cover and vantage points to provide a longer ranged threat for enemy teams, forcing you behind cover and dealing large amounts of damage, especially if you show your head. Their position is often revealed by the quite obvious glare given from their scope, which, along with their target symbol, should be quickly spotted if you wish to stand a chance. Moving on to the Support archetype, these enemies are believed to possess the first aid skill, and therefore the ability to heal teammates. They are represented rather appropriately by a first aid symbol, and will definitely be a high priority target for your squad in order to avoid elongated engagements, where injured enemies are healed and can return to combat. Next is the Tank archetype. As seen in the final encounter of the Cleaners mission in the open beta, the tank is an enemy represented by a shield and possessing huge amounts of health along with high armor ratings. These enemies will most likely make up the bulk of bosses in the game given their long time to kill, but due to this, unfortunately, I can see these enemies being interpreted as bullet sponges unless their mechanics or the mechanics of the engagement are somehow varied. Now we come to the Thrower archetype. Represented rather aptly by a grenade symbol, these enemies have the ability to use various types of grenades, such as flash and frag, which may cause damage to you as well as force you out from behind cover when escaping the grenade's area of effect. They can also apply certain debuffs or conditions to your character, such as blind and death, inhibiting your ability to see and hear, and bleeding, which will cause damage over time. They do have a weakness however, as if the grenade itself is shot, or if the enemy is killed when holding a live grenade, it may cause it to explode, injuring nearby enemies. The next archetype is the Special. These enemies can be identified by a symbol made up of 2 horizontal stripes with a star above them. Specials have the potential to be very dangerous as they are believed to have their own tactics, which will set them aside from other AI by executing mechanics that you may not expect in an attempt to catch you out. They will also have more powerful than average weapons and likely high armor ratings. Due to this, they are definitely ones to spot early and keep an eye on. And finally is the Scout archetype. Identifiable by an eye symbol, this enemy is believed to possess the pulse skill, and so will be able to identify your location and inform other enemies, revealing your attack strategies and any flanking maneuvers you and your squad may be executing. Unfortunately, this is another archetype which I haven't encountered personally, and so I'm only speculating about it. If you have any more information, feel free to comment and let me know what you think this archetype's ability will be, and maybe how best to combat them. And so, once again, that's all for this edition. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did and want to see more, check out my other videos or like and subscribe. Also, please feel free to comment and let me know what you think of the content I'm producing, and what content you would like to see me produce as this channel develops. As well as on YouTube, I can be found on most social media outlets such as Twitter and Twitch. Links for these will be in the description, and thanks again for watching.